Now. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the EU Wayback Machine, or Legends Wayback, whatever you want to call it, however you want to slice it. Today, we're on episode 6, and we're discussing the holiday special. Now, hold up. I know this is not publication-wise correct. However, it is December. It is the holidays. So I thought, what better than to do the holiday special? So this is going to be it for this month. And then we'll get back with the actual publication order in January, where I'll also become an old 24-year-old. So lots of fun things next year. Next month, next year. But how are you all doing today?
Doing fantastic.
Well. Holiday special. We all loved it, right?
Absolutely not. This was the first time I really did not enjoy it. It was not an enjoyable experience. There's a novelty aspect, I think, the first time you see it. This used to be lost media to me. So back in the day, the only way you could get this is a bootleg VHS cassette tape from a fan convention. You know, those were circulating. I know Joe Bongiorno had one back in the 90s, and that's how he acquired this. But this was lost media, man. This was like Light Cider, Escape from Dagu, something like that. It's a little bit different in that it's live action. So when you first see it, and I first saw it probably around 2008 or something, when BitTorrent was a thing, you could actually find it online reasonably. And I first saw it, I was like, wow, this is live action. It was very similar to the, I don't know if anybody remembers the Kenner, I think it was Assault on the Death Star or something like that. There was a VHS tape that was associated with a board game, and they recorded certain scenes with David Prowse around the time of the special edition. There were some extra scenes with like stormtroopers, Vader, and Imperial commanders, and he would David Prowse actually narrated the board game. So I think it was like 4 or 6 players or something. You'd go around the Death Star planting bombs in the second Death Star, and there was a story. There was an expanded universe story that went along with it. Abel Pena actually canonized who the players were in one of his short stories, vignettes, whatever it was, which I kind of didn't like. I kind of liked thinking that I was actually a player in the Star Wars universe, like a choose your own adventure story. But anyway, similar to live action, there was very few opportunities to get Star Wars live action outside of the 3 films, like the board game I just mentioned, and then Caravan of Courage, Battle for Endor. But besides that, all we had was holiday special. So this was fantastic to see for the first time, but I think only the first time. After you first see it, the novelty value wears off, and it's just bad. It's bad. I can't say really anything good about it. There's some parts about it that I think are tolerable. The cantina scene with B. Arthur and the cartoon series with Boba Fett, but besides that, it's not good. A lot of bad musical numbers, not really well thought out. There's a lot of franchises, I think, that have a similar sort of Christmas special. Alex, you and I were talking about Power Rangers recently, and there's this there's Alpha's Christmas special, which is infamous in the Power Rangers fandom. I think it came out 93, 94, has all sorts of continuity errors, but it's like a musical number. You know, it's a lot of like short musical scenes. And this Star Wars holiday special, it seems very similar. Like they drew off the same motifs or whatever, but the acting is bad in both. But in Star Wars, particularly the acting with Mark Hamill and Carrie Fisher in this holiday special is just atrocious, just really, really bad. But I'll shut up. I'll let you guys take the floor.
Well, I think Scott nailed it right on the head. This is a novelty. This was Star Wars attempting to do a late 70s chintzy special, just a variety hour thing. And those are fun in 1977 or 78. Today, they're just really long, and there's not a whole lot going on. A lot of the decisions for what became a segment are, we'll say, interesting for now. We're going to get into that here a little bit in more depth. I don't mind a good holiday special, One of my favorite episode of Justice League, the animated series, is the holiday special. Is where everybody has Christmas, and it's really cute.
Yes.
This sucks and is bad and is not worth. This is my second watch through. I watched it around 10 years ago, as of now. And when I saw it for the first time, we were just on the verge of like all this new Star Wars stuff, so it was exciting. Like Scott said, now that we have a bunch of other bad Star Wars stuff, this is just like, yep, that's more bad Star Wars stuff. It's not as interesting. It's not as anything now, really. The unsubbed Wookiee dialogue is the first thing I always go to when I talk about this special with people.
Is a terrible choice.
It's so bad. And there's no reason to do it. Is the first, I think, 7 minutes of content is just Wookiees talking to each other.
Nonsense.
With no subtitles.
It's okay with Chewbacca because the whole thing is it plays off the human characters and they understand them and they basically give us any information we need to know. But when it's just Wookiees, give us subtitles like awful. They did it in KOTOR later. There's no reason for it.
It's just annoying. It's just stupid. This is just one of those things that is probably best left in the past. It's a really nice historical oddity. There are a few things in here that we're going to get into that do make it historically important for Star Wars.
I thought it was prudent to mention I have not watched it, but if you're around the internet, it's hard to not see. I hear good things about the Skeleton Crew, which just came out. I'm not going to watch it, but some of you might. If you're a dual canon fan, that's okay. But I do hear that they have made a direct reference to this special by having the band or whatever that we watched that was pointless and stupid. They made an appearance in this new show, so they are recognizing that the historical nature of this film to some capacity.
And I think that's fine. I think the things that are notable about it are, worthy of note. It's, we'll get into it, but there are things that you can't take away from this holiday special. However, at the end of the day, it's just not good. It's not enjoyable. It's really long. It's really boring. It's very of the time. It does not feel like Star Wars, the original movies, feels timeless. This feels like it came directly out of 1978 and then directly into your veins. It's just terrible. Anyway, but that's my bit.
I will say a lot of negativity here. I think we'll go with all the negatives first after, and then we'll do the positives last, just so it ends on a high note. But I do want to say, just for the sake of it, I wish Brendan was here. I think he said he had to go to a restaurant with his family or something today. I don't remember but he was supposed to be here, and he actually really enjoys his special. So I just want to say it's not a unanimous thing. All of us here are in agreement, but there are certainly Star Wars fans who do enjoy it, and I don't want to take that away and say you're invalid if you do enjoy it. I question why, but you are completely valid if you really enjoy the special, just like Brennan Quinlan Voss on YouTube does.
Yeah, Brennan enjoys this a lot, and unfortunately,
he's watched it like 10 times.
Something crazy like that. Yeah. And I think he owns a bootleg copy too. So,
so do
unfortunately, he's not here to defend it because I'd very much like to see the reasoning behind why he likes it so much.
Brennan, let us know in the comments section later.
In fact, Brennan, I think that's why he made up an excuse to have dinner with his family, right, or something. Lame excuse because he couldn't come here and defend it in person.
If we don't get a full essay in this comments, Brennan, I'm going to assume that you don't actually like this. That's the challenge. We're laying down the challenge.
Robert, how about you? How did you feel this time around?
Well, like Al, this is my second time viewing this, and I'm glad I wasn't suffering through it alone. The animation, the animated segment is quite noteworthy because, as we know, that's the first appearance of Boba Fett and probably the first ever Star Wars animated thing because, of course, droids and Ewoks wouldn't happen until the mid-'80s, and I can't think of what else they could possibly have done between A New Hope and now.
Outside of any commercials, I don't think there is. If somebody knows of a commercial, then that would be the. But I don't
Yeah,
think I don't
I don't think
know.
that.
I think you're right. I think it probably is the first animated.
I think the C3POs had a commercial, at least with 3PO, R2, and an alien, I believe. I'm not sure exactly when that came out. I know that was like Matt Wilkins' generation. It was before my time, but that may have come out in the 80s, early 80s. I don't know.
The Wookiee storybook. I assume that would have been after this.
Yeah, I think that was a year or so after. And the Wookiee storybook, it tells a similar story, but not exactly. So there's one point in the holiday special where Lumpy is sort of walking along the railing of the balcony on Kashyyyk there, seemingly about to fall off. And there's a similar scene in the Wookiee storybook where there's a ladder that goes down from that balcony, and he climbs down to the ladder into the jungle, and then he falls out of the tree or something. There's a whole lot of scary aliens at the bottom, something like that. But I'm not sure if at the end he all imagines the scenario, the adventure, or if it actually happened. I forget. I'll have to go back and look.
Well, I was going to say we had talked a lot because we had all watched this together on Discord like a week prior. But I thought it probably best if we start with the things we like the least and move our way up to the things either more tolerable of or generally liked. So what was your guys' least favorite aspect? I think I know what it's going to be, but
I'm not sure if we could say this on YouTube or not. If it'll get flagged.
To use the language in the holiday special, there's a segment where Art Carney brings a gift over to the Elder Wookiee, and he calls it a it's a
Mind evaporator.
It's wow. That's how he frames it. He calls it wow. So we're gonna call it a wow for the sake of not getting YouTube, not getting Alex kicked off YouTube.
You know the Sims, the video game. They call it a woohoo.
I think that's also that's also another thing you could call it, a woohoo, a yoo-hoo, something like that. You know, it's suggestive. We'll say it's very suggestive.
It's like when the kids or not kids, sorry, when adults watch the corn, you might say, you know, like the children of the corn, you know, like, you know, there might be another letter that you put in there, but that's very much what it's like basically meant to be. It's like not this is not even like trying to like make fun of the movie. Like that is
it's literally
explicitly.
We looked it up afterwards because I was trying to figure out what could this have possibly. What was this possibly could have been? No, it is literally supposed to be, as the kids say, corn.
Yeah.
And this is not a good idea.
Did this air on ABC? You know, yes. During the holidays or close to the holiday season. Supposedly advertised as a family-friendly program way back in the day. So, I mean, forget the abhorrent, you know, moral standards of today. Just think back to the time where this was made, and this somehow passed quality control and got to go ahead.
I'm just thinking, like, why
do we spend so much time on it?
Yeah. Well, why do we spend so much time on it? Why does this even exist? Why would they think to do this?
Yeah.
To be fair, when you're watching it, all it is singing. That's all she's doing. But the issue also comes in with how Itchy, the father of Chewbacca, is like making faces throughout it. There's this sort of sensualness to her dialogue when she's talking to him because she's meant to be like this pleasurable AI thing. For Itchy, it's very much meant to be that without being that, because obviously they can't show that to children, but this is as close as they can get. And my only question is, why are you even trying to get that close when you know kids are watching?
Yeah, and the acting.
So Brennan told me her name. Her name is Mermea, or Mermea, something like that. Mermeia, I think. And so I'll throw this out here. From what I can find, and I'm interested to see if anybody has any evidence to the contrary. I think Mermea is the first person of color in Star Wars. Definitely in a visual medium. Almost certainly in a visual medium. There's nothing else, so it's going to be our. But
We
I
did
think
have a
just
discussion
very-
in a previous episode about the orange-looking lady in one of those Marvel issues that I suggested could be
could
a
be.
person of color, but we don't have any confirmation of that. And Al's opinion is that no, it's just a orange alien until he gets explicit evidence otherwise.
Yeah,
So,
I think that's supposed to be orange. I would like to see the actual issue because a lot of the color techniques, colors in comics are from that era are supposed to be on newsprint, and we were not looking at it on newsprint. So I'd be curious to see what the actual colors are. Anyway, I think I'm curious to see if anybody has any evidence to the contrary. I am not fully confident in this, but it is my hypothesis that she is the first, which that's not really a good thing. I don't think in this case it's really weird to have that.
Also, I just wanted to say also, Matt Wilkins says Happy Life Day and dark greetings, everyone.
So I just learned this before we started. Apparently, they originally offered this role to Cher, who was very big in the 70s, and she did a lot of these like variety show things, but she backed out, or she didn't accept due to prior commitments or something, or personal reasons, which was probably a good idea on her part.
I'm wondering how much of a time constraint they were under when they were making this.
It don't look like they had a lot. It looks kind of cheap. The whole thing.
That might explain their interesting choices when it comes to segments.
From what I understand, there was not a lot of oversight. This was before George really was invested in anything like that, so he just kind of let them go. That is my understanding.
No, I think that's just a theory. I don't think there's any. I don't know if she's actually meant to be the race of Cusack's or not.
We did bring that up when we were watching it. It's like, is she supposed to be Cusack's? Which she could be. I'm fine with that being a headcanon, but we don't know for certain. But this is the worst segment.
It's not even like. I mean, the lady sings fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with her singing per se. It's fine, but it also wasn't particularly an interesting song, even that. And then you tip that all off with the sensual nature of it all, and the fact that Itchy's watching it and is meant to be kind of like getting enjoyment out of it. It's just very clearly like this is not for family. So why are we taking time on this? It's uncomfortable.
It is. I think that's what it comes down to. Is I'm just uncomfortable watching it. It's just kind of weird. It's like watching Grandpa watch some old stag movie. You're like, can I leave?
Yeah.
Yeah. And the actress sort of.
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
If you're watching it with other people, then it's the one that you're going to most dread, I think.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And you gotta, especially if you're in the same room. We were, on camera, and I think most of us had, just the voices on. So we didn't have to look at each other. But if you're like on the couch with your family, you're trying to sit down and watch this, you all look at each other while this scene's going on.
Imagine you're a child in 1978 and you convince your family to watch this during the holidays. Well, you're going to be in trouble for a lot of reasons, but number one is going to be this.
Oh, so we got to Matt said a couple things. Says Wedge would nest with that, which my goodness, Matt. We have we'll have Mr. Wallace confirm that at Legends Con. And then last but not least, he says that scene is like watching Alex read Dark Empire issue 4. I knew it would come up eventually. I knew it.
Not to dwell on this segment too much longer, but I will say that the actress really leaned into the exotic nature of what she was trying to do, and it's also not clear what exactly it is. You have to actually go to Wikipedia to get an explanation on, is this a real person
or
performing this from somewhere, or is it AI? And the Wikipedia article seems to suggest it's AI. I don't know where they get their sources of information from, but that's what they say.
Maybe they're making it up.
Same thing. Expect them to make it up. Honestly, yeah.
I
have to wonder if Star Wars Insider or Databank ever got into that at all.
Maybe.
Oh, it could be.
Have to dig into that, but Well, now that we're done with the worst, or sorry, go ahead.
Oh no. I just wanted to say one last thing. For being a weird hologram, corn lady, she did it. She was good, but it was just weird. It was weird and uncomfortable. That's it. Anyway, continue on.
The device itself is called the device itself is called a mind evaporator, apparently.
Nah, I don't care.
Evaporator. Well, I mean, technology do be ruining kids' minds, so maybe there's something to it. Well, now that
evaporate the mind.
Yeah, evaporates your mind, exactly. So now we went from the worst one, that we got that uncomfortableness out of the way. What was your second to last? Maybe not you're uncomfortable, but we're bored or just unhappy.
Well, let's kind of lightning round a couple of these because they're a little bit similar.
Yeah.
All Harvey Korman ones where he is like there's the one where he's doing the cooking show. It's stir, whip, 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 stir, or whatever.
Yep.
The instructional video where he's explaining how to fix a device that does not exist.
That was just straight boring.
These were terrible ideas. They're so worthless. They shouldn't have been there. They're just there to pad out the running time, and that's kind of it.
Does he count as our first ever human replica droid?
He could.
Definitely be before Guri. Sure.
Definitely be before Guri. That is a case
Blade Runner.
Marvel Comics might have something, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, unless we're counting Balance, but he's a cyborg, and I still don't think that happened yet. But I could be wrong on the timetables of that. So
when does Death Mask happen?
I have no idea.
We're going roughly in release order here, but I think we had an android. We didn't have a human replica droid. There is an android in the first Marvel series. Is it Marvel 7, issue 7?
Okay. Your cousin Yinis says Disney princess style song about friendship sung by Princess Leia is the best part of the film. I mean, yeah, at the end she sings like off of the Star Wars like theme.
It's an interesting take. I don't think I've heard that one before. But
yeah, I mean that's unique. I don't agree, but I mean, if you enjoy it, gets you in the Christmas or the holiday spirit, then whatever.
Yeah. So going back to Al's idea, as far as a lightning round, the worst segments, the Whipster, I didn't think it was super terrible. I thought it was kind of funny, but it went on too long.
If it had been
same thing with
20 seconds.
Yeah. Same thing with the instructional video. I think the second worst for me is the circus act that they have there. That's pretty boring. I guess they were trying to show off special effects or something. I don't know what the aim of that is, but it was boring and too drawn out and not very exciting.
I haven't watched Skeleton Crew, but I bet it did it better because it probably lasted like a second.
Probably.
Is that in Skeleton Crew?
Yeah,
I'm never going to watch Skeleton Crew. So
there's some. I was saying in the beginning they have I saw something on like Twitter or something that there's on the little table they're the same circus. They're just on there, so I'm sure it's just like a pan and you miss it sort of thing.
I think this is where we see the faults of the 1970s variety show format, in that you have to shove a bunch of stuff that is unrelated into an hour or an hour and a half.
It's also like a celebrity thing, which is
they don't...
another reason why it's dated, because nowadays, most of people of my age aren't going to know who they are, and it's.
They also didn't get very good ones. Not to I think B. Arthur did a great job. I think I think B. Arthur did a great job. I think he's got to the extent of that, but they didn't get very good ones. They couldn't find. They also couldn't come up with Star Warsy equivalents to things. So they're just like, what if we just have a circus performance? But I don't know. Seeing that on a TV as opposed to seeing that in real life is a very different thing. Seeing it in real life where you're actually seeing human beings jump around and do all that stuff is very impressive. Seeing it on TV, you're like, I don't care. They're on a big green screen. They could be surrounded by nets. They could be totally safe. It's not the same experience. It's not a very good idea.
It at least doesn't feel quite as long as some of the others.
Yeah. That's. I guess so. I guess I can agree to that. It still feels like it goes on too long. I think the worst offender of length would be the tutorial on something that's not real, forcing us to watch it You know, like I barely even watch tutorials on YouTube for actual things that exist, let alone something that's not real. So
Yeah, that was a terrible idea. The music video. What do you think about
oh
the
yeah,
music video?
I'd hate. I think I think it's awful. I think it may be second or third worst from what we talked about first, just because it in no way, shape, or form feels anything like Star Wars. It just feels like here's a '70s band. Let's give them some airtime on this movie, and it's not only a waste of time. It doesn't further the plot, which is most of this movie. This movie, without any of these variety hours, would be like maybe a half-hour special, which I would have been fine with. It was just like going to Kashyyyk, meeting the family. You know, Chewie saves his family. End of the movie, a happy day, cool.
That would be great.
But instead, we get all this extra stuff. But yeah, I hated it because it felt nothing like Star Wars. Felt out of place. Just felt like it literally felt like we went to another universe for a second because it was just 1970s Earth band singing.
They were using like nuclear glow rods as microphones because they couldn't figure out how to make it Star Warsy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if I liked the band, I would be a lot more on board. But I don't really know them very well, so I was just watching, be like, all right, can we move on? So.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like a crossover. I don't know when R2 and 3PO appeared on Sesame Street, but I know they did fairly early on after the first film, and it kind of felt like that. It's like a mix, a crossover with something else that isn't quite Star Wars. It's some Star Wars characters in some other universe or some other fictional franchise.
Right.
While we're on the topic of the 1970s, I think me and Al talked about that, or all of us kind of did, but Al was really big into mentioning like the whole Chewbacca's home doesn't feel like a Kashyyyk home. It feels like a 1970s house that just happens to be surrounded by like woods. But it doesn't, I know it was low budget and everything, but it just does not look, it doesn't even look like Star Wars 1970s. It just looks like a 1970s like place with a couple things they put in there to make it Star Warsy. It
looks like a slightly higher end like sitcom 70s set. Like you would watch it and go, this is like the snooty neighbor's house, basically, because it does look like a relatively nice house for the 1970s, but it still just looks like it. Like my mom was a realtor, so I've been in houses that look identical to this in the mid 2000s that were just really out of date, but like they have a similar vibe.
Yeah. It kind of throws you off to believe that Wookiees live in a house and spend most of their time inside rather than outside swinging through the trees as you might expect. I mean, think of like the shower drain and how that gets clogged with Wookiee hair with however many Wookiees living in that house taking showers regularly. I mean, it's just got to be horrible.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't even think about the logistics of that. But yeah, later on, we get a much better representation. I mean, of course, we had the novels, but in terms of visual media, we had episode 3 in 2005, and we had KOTOR in like 2003. And so you had, it was a similar sort of out structure as they gave us in this movie, but the inside like looked like wood, like you would expect a Wookiee home to look like, with a couple furniture. But it wasn't like, didn't look like 1970s furniture. It looked like something you find in the forest.
It looked like reliable shelter for people who spend, like Scott said, like most of their day outside in the trees.
Yeah.
It looked like they come home, they lay down, they go to sleep, and then they wake up and they leave. And that is what this is for. Which I think is a really good idea. That's a really that's good world building. That's good culture building. This is just like, hey, do you exist in 1978? Then look, this is your neighbor's house, basically.
See, the Wookiees are just like us. No racism, guys. They got houses just like us.
they're making some kind of food, and she's not wearing a hairnet, and I know she'd have to wear it over her whole body, but that's really gross.
This is another question we brought up for the Star Wars Expanded Universe I don't think has ever been answered. I mean, what is the health code in these different systems? I mean, does Coruscant even have one? We don't know. Nobody ever bothered to ask. Do they have like the same?
We know this whole planet's under Imperial occupation, and at one point they tell all the Wookiees to report to their home, and that's another thing. It brings up another criticism about the whole holiday special is it's very difficult, I think, at times to figure out what's going on, because they'll jump to Tatooine, and we're not sure if like the Wookiees are watching what's happening on TV on their holo video, or if the narration is just going to Tatooine and we're just changing scenes to see what's going on Tatooine. Same thing with the Boba Fett cartoon is there's a narration at the very beginning of that suggests that it's some sort of rebel propaganda or rebel account of what happened with Luke, Leia, and Han there, and Boba Fett, but it's just not clear what's going on. We jump from scene to scene too quickly without any explanation. And I guess if you're just watching this for fun, it doesn't matter. But watching it from an EU perspective to actually digest what's going on here is rather difficult.
Now that you bring that up, first off, your cousin Ines says first appearance of Boba Fett chronologically. That is true. Also, I would say to say something positive. I know we've been very negative. My favorite thing from this special is what they only included on Disney Plus, which is just this cartoon. I think this cartoon there's a bit weirdness to it too. I have a little bit of issues with it, but out of everything in this special, I like the whole cartoon bit the most.
I really enjoyed the cartoon. I ended up liking the B. Arthur segment more than I did originally back when I first saw this. It's a little bit silly, but it is still heartfelt, and I appreciated that.
The B. Arthur segment, where they're watching these events occur on Tatooine for some reason. There's this voiceover at the very beginning where the woman says, "Time now for life on Tatooine, brought to viewers everywhere in the hope that our own lives may be uplifted by the comparison and enriched with the gratitude of relief." This transmission is rehearsed and unedited and is hereby begun without further comment as to its lack of moral value.
Yeah, I still don't understand what that means.
No.
Maybe I'm just slow, but
but it's deeper than the rest of the film. I'd say it's a good quote. I mean, you got to think about it a bit, but it has more substance than most of the film does. So I think that's something to be said. Another thing, now that we're talking about continuity to the expanded universe, one thing that was constantly bugging me throughout, and I know it's kind of bugging all of us throughout, was when is this meant to take place? Because last time we saw Han, Luke, and Leia, they just met each other and became friends. But the way the special frames it, both Leia and Han makes sense. Leia and Luke are not just familiar, like they know of Chewbacca's family. They are it's not just because at first I thought maybe Chewbacca just told them about them, and I thought, well, that's fair enough. But they act like they are friends, like they've interacted with these people several times. So I mean, obviously they had to have come to Kashyyyk at some point and met them. I just don't know when that would be,
right,
or why they would do that.
So it's very clear Luke knows Mala and Itchy, I believe. And same with Luke. Luke and Leia both know them, like they've been there before. They have their, I don't know how they connect via the HoloNet, via phone number or some identification code, but however they do it, they have each other on speed dial, and it feels like you're missing something.
It's something. So this is getting really nitpicky and pedantic, but shouldn't Chewbacca's family be on a list? Shouldn't they have been arrested or whatever? Does the Empire know what happened with the Death Star? Don't they know Han? What is the information level here? I feel like Chewbacca's family would at least not be allowed to do phone calls without being basically wiretapped, right? I mean, that's really nitpicky, but it's also that's kind of silly.
Yeah.
Even not counting his involvement with the rebels, at the very least, he's a known criminal to them.
That is true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess my only devil's advocate would be, do they know? Do they advertise Chewbacca specifically? Because if they don't know his name or anything about him, not to be racist, but to the Imperials, he's just going to look like any other Wookiee. So theoretically, You know,
That is
I don't know
fair.
how they would even acquire the information of Chewbacca anyway. So,
Well-
unless they know that, I mean, they know that a Wookiee travels with Han, but how do they know which Wookiee? I mean, Han originally saved him from slavery, and they were kind of both off the books. So.
I think that would be how. I guess the real question is, how does this technology work, where Chewbacca's family can contact Luke or Leia? Because then we have a problem in like shouldn't the Empire be able to track that communication? And then we get into real detailed stuff. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
they definitely didn't think about when they were making.
no,
the
they
specials,
definitely.
So.
This was supposed to be like a fun thing. The problem is with that excuse is that when it's not fun, I start asking the questions, and now I'm having fun making mocking this. But before I was not having fun.
Yeah. You guys mentioned the B. Arthur special, so
Yes.
you know what about that like made you appreciate that?
Well, I think
besides go ahead,
Scott.
Al. I think besides the opening part of that scene with the guy with the hole in his head that keeps pouring drinks out of the top of his head, he gives like a long monologue expressing his love for B. Arthur, which is sadly rejected. That part I didn't like at all, but the rest of that scene, I don't know that it's good. I definitely can't say that it's good, but at least it's entertaining. It's to the point where it's silly entertaining, particularly the musical number, the dance there where they're all waving their cups, leaving the bar there. That's pretty good. There's a couple of fun scenes with the rat and some of the characters there. B. Arthur just embraces the rat there in the corner.
The rodent of unusual size.
Right. I think we're
Mickey
even gonna
Mouse.
screenshot that and put that as the thumbnail for this video. But
I'll talk to Brendan.
yeah, the Aqualish there where he takes B. Arthur by the arm to go and dance with her. And somebody arranged this musical number there. This was like completely original, and I think only used in the holiday special, if I am correct on that.
I think you're right.
That was originally put a lot of time and effort into it, and I think B. Arthur, if you compare her act to everyone else's, it's obvious to me that she was the only one that put any amount of effort into making it interesting or just put any effort at all, because Carrie Fisher's acting is horrible.
She does not. She looks like she doesn't want to be there.
Yeah, same with Harrison Ford, same with Mark Hamill. The rest of them, but B. Arthur, at least I don't know that she was good in there. I wouldn't classify that, but like at least it's tolerable. And I think the same thing with the Boba Fett cartoon. Like it's okay. Some of the drawings are a little weird, but for the cantina scene, I would have to say it's the best because it's the only scene for me that I didn't dislike.
To jump off that point a little bit, I think the thing that links these two together is that they both have some modicum of effort put in, where I don't think that is the case for any of the other segments.
Absolutely.
Here it's B. Arthur, who, like you said, she's not setting the world on fire, but she is trying, which is way above everyone else at this point. So I really like that. I really enjoy her. Also, you get a giant rat, which is very cool. I really like the big rat puppet.
It's kind of scary.
It is kind of scary. I would at first I was like, that's terrifying. And then I was like, nah, I like him. That's my guy. I think.
Do you have a drink with him?
I would. I would not have the drink with the guy who puts it through his skull. I don't like him. He's weird. He needs to go in the corner.
Brennan told us the rat's name. What was it?
Yes, Rungs.
Rungs.
Yes.
I like the rat. I think that segment is very cute. The cartoon, I really like the cartoon. I really like that 70s gritty like aesthetic it's got going on. Does everyone look good? No. But I love the voice actor they have for Boba Fett. If I didn't love Jason Wingreen's performance so much in Empire Strikes Back, he would probably be my favorite performer for Boba Fett. But
Who was it who voiced Boba Fett in the Droids episode?
I'm not sure.
I assume it wasn't the same person.
Brendan says hi, by the way.
Oh,
Defend
Brendan,
your
hello.
views in the comments later.
You
we
need
want to know.
We need to know. We need to know the justification. All right, here's the second. So either A, big essay. B, just say the rat and leave it at that, and I will accept that as well.
It's much easier to defend your position in the comments than here on stream. So I'll just say that. Like, Brendan's got to defend his position in person.
It's conveniently had to go. He's kind of like whenever Matt does his live streams, like Ryan Connell or whatever, and he always says how Matt from what's it called? What's the channel? Oh my goodness.
More Civilization.
Yeah, More Civilized Age, but he tells about Matt from Geeks Addict, and he or I think, is it Matt? Anyway, point being that he never shows up for some reason. So I'm going to start making that be a thing for Brennan.
Wow, this is interesting.
Oh, Brennan, no, your cousin Yinna says Boba Fett was in Droids, was voiced by the same guy, Don Franks. So the same guy from this is in the Droids episode.
Oh, nice.
Yes.
So there you go. You have your answer.
That's awesome. I love that.
Well, I think we've kind of gone around most of this special. I was going to say Lumpy is not a good Wookiee. The only one we care about is Lobaka. And oh wait, we got Brennan. He said the holiday special is amazing. I truly believe that. It's genuinely a fun, good time.
This is.
I may be the only person who thinks that.
I think you may be right about that last point, Brennan.
Well, your cousin Eunice says peak television, so we got two.
That's bait. That's bait.
Yeah, that's
bait. Is there anything worth briefly touching on?
What do we think?
As to the things that would later tie into the broader EU.
Oh.
What else? What is there? Like, so Chewie's family, Boba Fett.
There's the Jefferson Starship song, "Light the Sky on Fire," that mentions Kopa Khan, and that's the deity worshipped by the Lawton fanatics.
Oh, really? I haven't noticed that. Brennan says there's a ton of stuff that ties into the broader EU. Chewie's fans show up a ton. Oh, family show up a ton later.
Yes.
Yeah, of course.
So
Agmina would much later go on to appear in one of the Fate of the Jedi books.
Right.
There you go.
And I guess Lumpy, Itchy. I mean, they're all established names in the EU. I guess Itchy
they're in that Chewbacca comic that's like morning.
And then they're in like Galactic Battlegrounds and
Lumpy is in Black Fleet Crisis.
Lumpy is in Black Fleet Crisis. Saves Han.
He's also in that Troy Denning short story.
Oh, I love that one. Where it's just like Chewie being like, "I hate my son."
Right.
Brendan also says lots of background Cantina characters got established material later. If you all didn't know, a later EU writer, I believe Michael P.Q. McDowell. Who wrote Black Fleet Crisis? Yeah, and then your cousin Eunice.
Well versed on the Black Fleet Crisis. I'm the Black Fleet Crisis expert for sure. And I would say
apologist.
Lumpy is probably apologist. What does it mean? Does it mean apology?
Hey, I like it. What are you talking about?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. That's a joke. I think so too. I'm messing with it.
I will say Lumpy's probably the most prominent EU character in the holiday special. I think that's fair to say.
I think you're right.
I think so. Oh, he also. What else? His brand's going off, but he was okay. Wait. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
They wanted to write the Wookiees as polygamists and have Chewie have multiple wives, but he was informed by Lucasfilm that Chewie already had a family. So I guess he didn't watch the holiday special.
Yeah, I mean the comic was written before the holiday special, so I don't think we could fault them for that. I think we went a little bit out of order, but in terms of like doing this for the holiday season, it only makes sense. So I would definitely place the holiday special later on in the timeline because of the reasons we talked about earlier with Luke and Leia being so familiar with Chewie's family, Han, obviously close with Chewbacca and his family, so that makes sense. But
Lucas Green also loves it. He says Chewbacca's family, Boba Fett's introduction to the franchise, Kashyyyk or Kashyyyk, LOL, first
That's
depiction,
right.
new species on the Cantina sequence, a new in-universe holiday, etc. The holiday special is fire. We got people defending this in the comments. I was going to ask. You'll go for it. Yeah.
They did spell Kashyyyk differently in the early EU.
They did.
Yes.
What do you all think Life Day even is for the Wookiees?
It looks like a cult ritual. It looks like they're about to drink some Kool-Aid, and that makes me a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not really cool with that.
Hopefully, no mass suicides though.
I'm hoping not.
Do we know anything about the Tree of Life? Consult the Wook here.
Isn't that what is that called? Yggdrasil?
That's the world tree.
This is close enough.
I think this is sort of stuff that's just expounded upon later. The tree doesn't really have much significance other than being like a Christmas tree in the holiday special, right? That's kind of what it was designed to do, and then people just go crazy off those ideas, like what they see off of it. But
I think at the end of the day, that is the conclusion takeaway from the holiday special, is that this was a base for people to work off of later. That the legend of the holiday special was something that people were interested in.
There's a whole website, and Brennan mentioned this. I think he could talk more about this if he was on, but there is a website, Star Wars Holiday Special.com or something like that, that gives not only the cast of characters, names all the characters seen in the holiday special, but also translates the Wookiee dialogue and gives them scripts or roughly what they're saying to each other. It's not very interesting, even in English, but it's another resource. If you're so interested, you could go look at that. I wouldn't suggest it though.
But yeah, and we also get Leia singing at the very end about friendship. Which
supposedly that's what Carrie Fisher wanted to do. She wanted to sing, so she got it.
Well, and she sang pretty good. Not gonna lie, she did fine, dude. But overall, guys, gonna watch it next year?
No.
No.
Fair enough. I know Brennan will.
I looked up Chewbacca's family's full names. They're Malatabuk, Atichitkuk, and Lumpawaru.
Yeah, I knew that one. Lumpawaru is fun. It's almost like he's got Waro in the name.
Oh, yeah.
Which I don't envy whoever had to take these ridiculous names that the holiday special came up with and make something sort of Wookiee-ish out of them.
I don't think they did too bad a job, honestly.
No, I agree.
They did pretty decently.
I would say. Is there anything else to talk about with the holiday special?
I think we exhausted all we really could.
So this is another issue with the holiday special. It's just really long, and there's not a lot of there. If you know what I'm saying, it's not.
Yeah.
We did at least get a bit of Ralph McQuarrie art, right?
Yeah,
a little bit, I think. Yeah, with the
very beginning
painting.
Establishing shot of the
the big map painting of
The other thing that you can kind of miss it, but towards the end there's little 5-second, 10-second clips of the original Star Wars film, just to remind you, hey, what you just saw does connect to Star Wars, in case you forgot.
Yeah.
But if they were to ever put the holiday special on Disney Plus or if there's any legitimate way of watching this in the future, would they change those clips to be special edition? Because when you see them, you're reminded, oh yeah, that was the good old Star Wars before they changed it to the special edition. And that immediately jumped out at me, like, oh wow, classic Star Wars.
Well, is there anything in there that was specifically changed in the, like, is there the scene of Han shooting Greedo or anything? Because I don't remember.
No, but the way the models look, like you know how the old Falcon looks against the space backdrop, it has a distinctive look, and then when you see that in the special edition, it just looks digitized and not as good. It doesn't look like an actual model. So there was one of those scenes specifically with the Falcon that I think got edited to the point where it's like unrecognizable now in the special edition.
Theoretically, if they were to put the holiday special in full on Disney Plus, given how they didn't do much to clean up the original Clone Wars series, I'm going to say that they would probably leave it. They would just leave it as is.
Guys, hold on. Sorry, we have Brennan. we were about to end it, but now we have to get the full essay dissertation on why the holiday special is amazing and worthwhile. And we want to hear it because it's
Wait,
Brennan,
you guys are
the best
wrapping
guy.
up? Only 50 to talk about the holiday special?
We didn't have any opposition. We didn't have any opposition, Brennan. Yeah. We needed somebody to come in here and defend the Wookiee wow as it is.
Yeah. All right. No pressure, Brennan. But you have the floor.
I'm not defending the Wookiee VR stuff. That stuff's disgusting.
Okay. Brennan, you have the floor. You have the opportunity to defend in front of the internet why the holiday special is so good.
Okay, so I can't say for long, so we'll see how much I get to say. Also, I'm sick, so my voice is not pained in talking about the holiday special. It's pained from physical illness. So if anyone interprets me as being sick because I'm talking about the holiday special, that is incorrect. I actually really like it.
This is how you know he's a real fan.
It's okay.
This is how you know he's a real fan of the holiday special. He's willing to overcome physical injury.
So true.
Pain.
He came here when he has to leave soon and when he's sick and dying just to defend
I have to leave in like 20 minutes. So
you gotta let him go.
Yeah. So thank you for having me. And I think that one of the things that I think the holiday special does really well is everything around Chewbacca's family. They show us the lifestyle of people that are living under the Empire, and that's something that A New Hope doesn't really show us that much. I feel it's not touched on that much, but it shows us a glimpse into everyday life under Imperial occupation. There's constant fear of them literally looking into your house via view screens and communicating into your house. Imagine if the government could just like FaceTime you every now and then. Like, got anything illegal going on there?
I think they do. They just don't tell you.
Yeah, they probably are. They're listening right now on this. But imagine if they could just dial you and you're just talking to like a senator or like a general. Like a moth can just FaceTime you and be like, "Are there any rebels there?"
Well,
like
in 1984, there's a similar idea. The book 1984. In the morning, you wake up, you have to stand in front of the view screen so you can be examined and then do your daily exercises according to how they want you. And
according to the standards, of course, yeah. And so it's a terrifying idea, but the life still persists, and we see we see a window into this life. At least on Kashyyyk, it's not going to be that way everywhere, but we get to see what it's like to live under Imperial rule. And there's definitely fear there. And I don't think any of the other movies did that very well. The expanded universe would do that a bit better later on in certain media. But I thought it was interesting to see everyday normal life in Star Wars under a regime. And I actually think that they do that really well for the snapshot that we get of it. And that there's like a blockade that delays Han and that delays Han and Chewie coming back, and that's interesting as well. The fact that they just shut down a bar, they just shut it down. That it shows us that the Imperials are really in control here, and shows us why there's people fighting against them, and shows us the lengths which the people fighting against them are willing to go to stay hidden with Traitor Zondan, I guess is how it's pronounced. I actually really thought that character was interesting and would have liked to learn a little bit more about him. The expanded universe touches on him not really at all. There's like a sole video game appearance and some mentions and some articles, but I found that character interesting as well. The traitor, this outpost, and the Imperials come around and they steal like whatever they want basically, It's silly, but it's interesting, and it's something that Star Wars didn't show us before. So I find that very entertaining for that reasoning. It's cool to know that that there's stuff that they do that's similar to what we do. Lumpy has to take out the trash. She watches a cooking program. Life in a galaxy far, far away is similar to life here, and I find that interesting. Maybe I'm just insane or something's wrong in my head. I mean, I guess it's weird, but Itchy watches interesting videos on VR, which I guess we can do now as well in 2024. I mean, I don't have VR, but I mean, I don't know. I don't know what people do on VR. I assume they can.
Ungodly things. I was kidding. Keep going.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing on VR. I'm too scared to check. But so basically, human life is similar to the life that's shown in the holiday special to make it relatable. The scene at the end when they're all sitting around the table having like basically Thanksgiving meal is quite interesting as well. They're all laughing and speaking. It would have been nice to have subtitles, obviously, for the Wookiees. Would have been easier to watch. I think that not including that was almost like unintendedly, I don't know if that's a word, but it was almost unintentionally artistic the way that they do it. They they just leave it up to an interpretation for us to try to take cues for what they're saying. I don't think it was deliberate, but it almost comes across as maybe the defining characteristic of the movie, not being able to understand what's going on for for a large portion of it there in the middle, which I thought was actually interesting. There's some interesting lore that we get from this too, like Lumpy watches Rebel propaganda and has to hide it from the Imperials. Thought that was fascinating. He plays like a little Atari video game too, which is kind of cool. It's cool to see that children can entertain themselves with games and stuff like that in a galaxy far, far away. I thought that was neat.
Lumpy is a gamer.
Yeah, Lumpy's a gamer. It's confirmed. Lumpy probably live streams on Twitch. You just have to
subscribe,
check him out. Yeah,
follow him at Lumpy129 for Fortnite content.
Yeah.
Oh my God, Lumpy playing Fortnite. When's that coming out? I need that.
That's an accurate impersonation.
In that short story, doesn't he go by Lumpaka?
Yeah, he later goes by Lumpa. Well, his full name is Lumpawarump, but that changes to Lumpawaru, and then he goes by Waru later on, by Waroo. I think it's 2 O's on the end, but he like kind of shortens it by the end. It's the ritual of eventually getting your adult name.
And how about we bring back the expanded universe and we make the next big arc be that Waru's trying to take over the entire galaxy through portals or whatever.
And only Lumpawaru can stop him.
Well, I was that, or he's possessing Waru. Waru's possessing Waru. You get some crazy stuff there, you know. Yeah. Also, your cousin Yinnis says before you continue that you may not understand what the Wookiees are saying, but you understand their general emotions and thoughts via their body language and tone of voice. I don't know if they do that as well as Chewbacca does in the films.
If you guys haven't read the script, I think I sent it in the Discord. But there's a script and it gives us a little more insight into what they're actually saying. We get some of their dialogue and some of their the intention of some of their movements is described and laid out in the script, which is kind of interesting. It's very weird to read it. There's a lot of scribbling all over it in the script there. I think it's the 4th edition that we have. There's a bunch of stuff crossed out and written over, which is kind of interesting.
I can't imagine why stuff would be crossed out in the script to this.
I mean, this is the final one that we got, I guess. We got the most streamlined, best version.
When he was
you'll have to look for yourself
in there. VR.
Yeah, you know,
what was he saying in VR?
Not safe for work.
Oh.
Yeah, evidently. I find the lore around the animated episode so interesting. So think about it like this: Luke Skywalker is the guy who destroyed the Death Star, and so even if that fact is not known, I mean, Vader goes through a long quest to try to find that out, who did that. But in Rebel circles, that probably spread. This legend of the guy who took down the Death Star, and so it's evident several rebels knew it. That's part of the plot point is Vader kind of torturing it out of a rebel in Vader's quest. But So within the rebellion, this legend of Luke Skywalker has grown, and it's grown enough to where they've created cartoons showing an adventure that Skywalker goes on under what I would only assume is rebel propaganda cartoons distributed to sympathetic families. So I pose a question for you guys. Do you interpret that as that actually happened? That was a real event, or do you think it's all completely fictional within universe? It was something made to entertain the kids, or do you think it's based on a true story, but it's being relayed to rebel families?
I think it's based on a true story, and oddly, it's
I agree with
very
that.
similar to the Drexel comic
Yeah.
series.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that is, but they like crash land, and the Falcon floats, but it floats via like a flotation device, not naturally like it does in the Drexel comics. But there's like sea monsters; they're attacked by very, very similar. And
Serpents and all
while,
that,
while
yeah.
we're on that topic, I'll just say this is the 4th instance of Luke crashing on a planet. So just for those tracking at home, we have
For the tally.
yeah, he crashed his first time in Keeper's World, the Drexel arc, again in Splinter of the Mind's Eye. Now the fourth time is in the holiday special. Whether this is rebel propaganda. So if you consider this at least based on an actual event, this is the 4th time.
Yeah. Or the rebels just like making Luke look bad.
Yeah, I mean, think of his insurance costs.
Oh,
I'm
rebel
sure that's Starfire.
Ooh, that's interesting.
your
Rebel
cousin Eunice
propaganda about the Drexel mission.
That would be interesting. But why they include Boba Fett? Is it just because he's a known bounty hunter?
I think because he's a known bounty hunter. Because I was about to say, I a lot of details with Boba Fett don't line up, from what I understand, from what I remember. But if they just threw him in there because they need like a bad guy,
A scary guy.
Who's the most famous?
His
bounty
reputation is known throughout the galaxy. We know
hunter?
that.
Why not? I would accept that. I would accept.
Also,
Definitely.
I said
I do
with
find it
them,
quite interesting. Sorry.
No, you're good. I was just gonna quickly say, like I said with them when we were on Discord last week privately, that Boba Fett's voice in this and the original from when the original release of Empire Strikes Back is my headcanon voice for Boba Fett whenever the helmet's on, and it's Tamora Morrison whenever he takes off the mask.
Like it's a voice. It's a voice.
Yeah, like a
filter
modulated
or-
voice.
Yeah, modulate. Yeah, I
I
like
prefer
that.
I prefer the voice,
It's
but
it's
I
a
can have
tough
my
macho
cake
voice, isn't it?
Yeah, I can have my cake and eat it too. It can still sound like Tamora Morrison, but just not when he has the mask on.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
I
think
like
that's
that answer.
I do find it interesting that his helmet has the dent even this early, because as I understand it, the actual prop in The Empire Strikes Back, that was accidental, right?
I don't remember.
I am not sure. I'd have to look.
I don't know. Yeah, that's interesting. Didn't we get the story of that ding at some point?
Oh,
Yeah, we
had
got
did.
it in Enemy of the Empire.
Enemy of the
That's right.
Empire. That's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
Now he does. It almost looks like he has different armor here.
It does look a
does.
little different.
So it's obvious Han would recognize Boba Fett. Now Han is under the influence of some sleep drug or whatever.
Yeah.
So he could either just not be able to recognize him because of the drug, or he may think it's another Mandalorian that is not Boba Fett. That's possible.
Oh, you're walking on thin ice there, Ernest.
I will
According
say,
to TCW is something that if you say that, you're
TCW
about to lose the argument.
TCW is Imperial propaganda, so it's the reverse of this comic,
there we go.
this
Yeah.
cartoon.
It's the other
so,
side of this token.
Yeah.
for anyone interested, there was a Marvel variant cover within the last year or two of this armor, and it looked quite good. So if anyone wants like a nice art piece of this armor, it exists.
They released a action figure of this armor as well, didn't they?
I believe they did. I think that
It
was
looked
Black
really
Series.
good. I
Yeah.
wanted to get it. Yeah.
So
I
we
need
also
to track
see
that
him
down.
in this armor in that Droids episode, I believe.
Yeah.
Mm.
hmm
And are those the only instances?
Maybe he has different armor for the climate.
So.
Well, there are some other variations. I'm not sure Boba Fett has it in the Marvel comics, but Toby Dalla and Fen Shice They have slightly different variations, and I think even Jodo Cast has a slightly different variation than Boba Fett's colors.
Actually, come to think of it, Ben Shisa looks a little more like Ben Shisa, and Toby Dalla's armor looks a bit more like the holiday special Boba Fett armor.
Yeah, they do.
Off of memory.
Also,
terms of color
Lucas
scheme.
Gerson says, I know I always say that, but I really would love to see both Lumpararu and Lobaka as Han Solo's companion Wookiees in EU Alliance sequel trilogy.
Yeah,
paying Chewie's life
absolutely.
debt. Or
You could even have set that after Crucible.
I was gonna say, or it could be giving it to Jaina instead, because Han's supposed to be after Crucible trying to be in the back seat now. So you could have maybe Jaina's palling around with both Wookiees now. You get some cool action scenes with that, with the Sword of the Jedi.
You have to have Han like literally tell them to move on to his daughter, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think that kind of makes sense, but that's a whole different discussion for another time.
I think that overall, though, with the holiday special, I think that where it excels is its interpretation of lifestyle under the Empire, and where it fails is the variety hour kind of stuff that kind of loses the plot. But I think overall, it's actually a really strong plot. The Wookiees have their own holiday, and Chewbacca wants to take time away from being with Han to go back and celebrate that with his family. This is used multiple times in the EU, like in the novel Scoundrels. It's explained that Chewie's back with his family, and that's why Han is freed up. Or sorry, that's in not Scoundrels. That's in Shadow Games. Shadow Games. So in Shadow Games, Chewie goes back to his family, and Han's freed up to go on the mission by himself. That's why Han's not with Chewie there. And so the EU would take this concept and Chewie's just back with the family. Chewie goes on vacation basically. He's having his he's taking his weeks off.
Chewie doesn't take his life debt seriously. Chewie's a bad Wookiee. See, he has to do penance on Life Day for failure to follow his life debt properly.
Maybe that's what it is, but I think that's a cool story. Like Chewie and Han are trying to get past the Imperials and get home so Chewie can be with his family. I think that's a really cool story.
I think the basis of the plot is good. The issues, this should have been like a 30-minute special, like a TCW episode. It should not have been an hour long because they're including all this stuff that just doesn't matter.
Because now that you say that, Brennan, I do think that's a really good point. I do like that. I will say that really gets drowned out by them going to see a Cirque du Soleil, or them watching WoW on a VR headset, or them watching a cartoon. It starts to get kind of muddled.
The Jefferson Starship performance is my least favorite part of it.
Yeah, it's really weird. They probably shouldn't have just put that in there. But
that one's your least favorite, not the other one.
Not Murmia. I'll have someone with Itchy's hat. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I'm kidding. But those two are probably my least favorites. I actually really like the Akmena bit in the cantina. Maybe it's just because I'm an Aliens guy. Maybe it's because I know all of their names because I went on the holiday special website that has all their names from like the CCGs and the tie-in material. Maybe that's why I like it, because I'm like, oh, that's Bloodlow, not Greedo. Maybe that's why I enjoy it and find it fun. Maybe it's because there's a giant rat. But the cantina scene is really fun to me, and the song
I heard his
is
nickname
good.
is Mickey Mouse.
His name is Rungs, but
that's a nickname.
Yeah, I guess Rungs became Mickey and bought out the EU and canceled the timeline.
It's all his fault.
He was so unhappy with being touched by Akmena. He was like, "You disgusting human! You touched me. I'm going to buy out this universe and destroy you."
He's the real villain of this universe.
Because the Imperials shut down the bar. He's like, I can't get a drink in this universe.
Done.
But the song is actually really strong, I feel. Not Carrie Fisher's one, but Akmena's song is really fun. That I'm not gonna lie, the last couple times I've watched it, I was singing along to the song. So it was quite fun. I find it fun. I find it a fun time. I've watched it so many times because I've subjected all of my friends to it. So basically, whenever I make a new friend, I'm like, "Hey, let's watch something," and then I make them sit down and watch it.
I can't lie. That is pretty devious. That's a little bit of super villainy right there.
And that's why Brennan's friends stay away from him.
Yeah, and that's why I have no friends anymore. No, all my cousins have seen it. all 5 of them have seen it at different times. So, well, one of them seen it twice. Because then my aunt walked in halfway through and she was like, I can't look away. I have to know what happens next. And so we restarted the movie after we finished so that my aunt could see the whole thing. It was it was great.
Unfathomable.
It was on Thanksgiving in like 2019, I think, 2020. Yeah,
You
it
give
was,
them a reason not to be thankful.
it's fun. I find it fun. I find the baseline story fun. I find it interesting. I find the lore it contributes interesting. Could it have been executed better? Of course. But for what we got, I don't think it's that bad. I think it's quite fun. But I'm like the only person who thinks that, so don't listen to me. Think maybe I was dropped on my head or something.
You provide some good reasoning, especially the Imperial living under the Empire and that. And
Yeah.
I do like that.
I just feel like
If it had been a little more that and a little less everything else,
Yeah.
it might have been
exactly.
really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just I feel like it's just happening to this one Wookiee family. I can't picture Chewbacca's neighbors getting searched by stormtroopers theoretically at the same time, where the movie would seem to suggest that's what's going on throughout Kashyyyk, right? They're on lockdown
Yep.
or something because they're
Yeah.
looking for Han or whatever their story is. Just the last
Like, you know what could have been great would some of these variety hours being taken out and actually showing like other Wookiee families being searched would have gone a long way.
That
To
would
helping
have been
that.
great if it cut to some other scenes of like Wookiees roaring. Maybe an angry dad throws a stormtrooper off and gets taken away into custody. All of that kind of stuff would have been really cool. Uprisings in the street, Wookiees like burning.
Well, we don't have the
burning
holiday
Imperial
special anymore. Then we'd
figures.
have an actual film.
Oh, that would.
We'd have something cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just gonna say at the very end, to add insult to injury, you had that scene where Han and the stormtrooper go for the blaster, and the
so
stormtrooper
fun.
just flings himself off the cliff there.
Something I
I
didn't
think
know is that stormtrooper is named. He's called like B913.
Oh,
Is his
wow.
is his call sign. So or is
Well,
his unit number.
now he's
Now he's
not
just splat
called
on the
much.
floor.
Yeah, they
Now
don't
he's-
call him much now.
He's not called Unit B9 anymore. Han called him Unit B Gone and threw him off of the railing.
I do enjoy thinking about how if Lumpy was just a little bit heavier, he could have smashed that barrister and gone right off the edge.
Honestly, I
Actually,
think
the
Lumpy
working theory
probably
last
weighs
time we
more
watched it.
than the Imperial.
Well, that's what we were saying. Actually, we were talking about this last week when we watched it together on Discord. Was that we were saying, well, he probably loosened it. He probably made it so that way it just broke right open for him later. So actually, Lumpy, unironically, saved the day.
I like to think that the carpenters for hire were like, we're not getting paid enough for this, and they didn't put all the nails in or the studs in that they needed.
There's carpenters on Kashyyyk.
I mean, there has to be. Their
Yeah, I
whole
guess
society
so.
is based on wood.
But is that like a job, or is it just something that they it's like part of life
Yeah.
that they do?
Yeah,
You think
They
that
get paid for
there's
it.
Wookiee lumberjacks, there's Wookiee carpenters. there-
A Wookiee
Wookiee
in
garbage
flannel
man?
would be awesome. A Wookiee wearing the flannel, the hatchet
Oh.
over his shoulder.
The bounty Wookiee, where he's the paper towel guy, but he's a Wookiee. Yeah.
Mr. Clean is a Wookiee.
All right.
That
I think
sounds
we're
great.
starting to get into the stupidity.
Yeah,
I think we're starting to embrace
said
the
everything we
holiday
could
special.
say.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. This is what happens. You talk about the holiday special too much, you start to become insane and start liking it.
But I will say, just the main point, Brennan did a pretty good job.
He did a great job.
Better than I can imagine. So I
I
think
appreciate it.
it's a good stopping point here.
One point that even I, a holiday special fanatic, will say is bad. Carrie Fisher singing, and why did they like go into space in robes holding glass balls, teleporting to like a life tree? That's where I'm like, I can't even justify this or explain it anymore. You know?
Fair.
That's why it's
Yes.
some religious cult holiday. There's definitely some religious aspect to Life Day.
Yeah.
The bit with
Chewbacca is
holding
actually
the-
Jim Jones. That's why he needed to come back to the
Chewbacca's actually a mad religious man.
Did you
just
say
never knew it.
Chewbacca's Jim Jones?
Yeah,
Yes.
he's gonna make everybody drink the Kool-Aid. They're gonna cause mass suicide.
Oh,
you know?
no.
So much for this stream not getting flagged.
We were so close.
I was like, did I hear that right?
Well, I
That's so
think on
funny.
that note,
Yeah.
I think we should all be thankful that we're not a part of the Jim Jones and just hold our losses today and just appreciate that we're all okay to live and call it a day and say, you know what, live day is pretty good. We're all live.
We're
That's
all live.
great.
That's
Good.
It is.
And this will be it for the month. So I hope everyone watching and everyone
the
that's
year.
with me and the year.
And the
You're
year.
right. That's next year's 2025. Half years through the 20s. It's crazy. Not 2020s. Sorry, not the 20s. We're not that far back.
Which one?
But,
The 1620s, 1820s, 19?
Yeah. But I hope everybody has a fantastic holidays. No matter what you celebrate, maybe celebrate nothing. All the above. Regardless, I hope the rest of your month goes absolutely splendid.
Absolutely.
Before we end this, I would briefly like to say hello to Joe, who isn't here at the moment, but tends to listen to these to and from work.
Oh yeah,
There you go.
Joe. I hope you have
Enjoy the
fantastic
archives.
holidays.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Happy holidays to all, and to all a good
night.
A good
Absolutely.
life.
A
a
good
good
finale.
life, and to all a good life. There we go. There we go. Brennan got me. That was good.
And if a fat man's on your roof and you kill him, you're gonna have to wear his clothes and become the next one.
When was that in the holiday special? Imagine Tim Allen in the holiday special.
That'd actually be good.
Tim
Anyway.
Allen is Trader Zondan.
Oh yeah.
Alrighty. Thank you, everyone. Have a fantastic holidays, and we'll see you back in January with
See
the
you.
Marvel comics. Till then. And